Welcome back to Anatomiqa. In this session, we will be discussing the details of development of the thyroid gland and its congenital anomalies. The learning objectives of this session are: describe the development of the thyroid gland, describe the developmental basis of congenital anomalies of thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is the first endocrine gland to develop. This diagram shows the inside of the ventral wall of the pharynx after removing the dorsal wall. In the ventral wall or floor of primordial pharynx or the pharyngeal cavity, the thyroid gland begins to form at approximately 24 days as a median endodermal thickening due to the epithelial proliferation between the tuberculum impar and the copula. To know more about copula and tuberculum impar, please watch the video on the development of tongue before proceeding further. The median endodermal thickening later is indicated by the foramen cecum, which we'll discuss later. We know that tuberculum impar is the derivative of the first pharyngeal arch and copula is the derivative of the second pharyngeal arch. So, the median endodermal thickening is forming between the first and second pharyngeal arches. Let us get the orientation of this diagram. It is the lateral view of the embryo showing the outer surface of the developing pharynx and the pharyngeal arches. Now, subsequent to the development of the median endodermal thickening, soon from the floor of the pharynx or the ventral wall of the pharynx between the first and second pharyngeal arches, a small outpouching from the median endodermal thickening develops. This outpouching is known as the thyroid primordium. As the embryo and the tongue grows, the developing thyroid descends through the substance of the developing tongue and in the neck in front of the developing pharyngeal gut. The thyroid primordium forms a bilobed diverticulum by dividing into two lobes at the caudal terminal end. With further development, the thyroid primordium descends in front of the developing larynx and trachea. It reaches its final position in front of the trachea by the 7th week. During this migration, the thyroid primordium elongates and remains connected to the tongue by a narrow canal called the thyroglossal duct. This duct later disappears. By the 7th week, the thyroglossal duct as usually degenerated. Due to rapid cell proliferation, the lumen of the thyroid diverticulum soon obliterates. The two lobes develops into the right and left lobes of the thyroid gland and are connected to each other by small amount of thyroid tissue called the isthmus. The proximal opening of the thyroglossal duct persists as a small blind pit called foramen cecum, which can be identified on the dorsum of the adult tongue in the midline on the sulcus terminalis. The part of thyroglossal duct distal to the foramen cecum degenerates. In approximately 50% of the cases, a third lobe extends superiorly from the isthmus up to the hyoid bone as a fibrous tissue or smooth muscle or both. This lobe is called as pyramidal lobe. The thyroid begins to function approximately by the end of the 3rd month. At this time, the first follicles containing colloid become visible. Follicular cells produce the colloid that serves as a source of thyroxine and triiodothyronine. Parafollicular cells or C cells are derived from the ultimobronchial body and start secreting calcitonin. So this is the normal development of the thyroid gland. Now looking at the abnormal congenital anomalies of the thyroid gland, we will start with the thyroglossal duct and thyroid anomalies. Ectopic thyroid gland. Aberrant thyroid tissue may be found anywhere along the path of descent of the thyroid gland. More commonly, the thyroid abnormality is found at the base of the tongue, just behind the foramen cecum, and is subject to the same disease as the thyroid gland itself. This is called lingual thyroid glandular tissue. The arrow in the picture is pointing to the lingual thyroid glandular tissue. Incomplete descent of the thyroid gland, that is arrested eye in the neck at or just inferior to the hyoid bone, results in the formation of sublingual thyroid gland. In this condition, the normal thyroid is not formed, and sublingual thyroid is the only thyroid tissue present in the neck. Because of this, it is clinically important to differentiate an ectopic thyroid gland from a thyroglossal duct cyst or from accessory thyroid tissue to prevent inadvertent surgical removal of the thyroid gland. Failure to recognize the thyroid gland may leave the person permanently dependent on thyroid medication. Thyroglossal duct cyst occurs when parts or remnants of the thyroglossal duct persist and thereby form a cyst. The swelling produced by a thyroglossal duct cyst usually develops as a painless, progressively enlarging, movable median mass. The cyst can contain some thyroid tissue. It can occur at any point along the migratory pathway of thyroid gland, but it is always near the midline of the neck. It can be located at the base of the tongue, called as the lingual cyst, or near the hyoid bone, inferior to it, or close to the thyroid cartilage. In almost 50% of cases, the cyst lies inferior to the hyoid bone. If the cyst is infected, in some cases, perforation of the skin occurs, forming a thyroglossal duct sinus that usually opens in the median plane of the neck anterior to the laryngeal cartilages. Congenital hypothyroidism is also called as cretinism. It occurs when a thyroid hormone deficiency exists during the early fetal period due to a severe lack of dietary iodine, thyroid agenesis, or mutations involving the biosynthesis of thyroid hormone. This condition causes impaired skeletal growth and mental retardation. This is characterized by dry, rough skin, wide-set ears, periorbital puffiness, a flat, broad nose, and a large protuberant tongue. With this, we complete the development of thyroid gland and its congenital anomalies. Thank you for watching till the end. If you like the video, like, share and subscribe to the channel.